Chapter 7, About to think, it's a tragic word. Duren. Yan Mo called Yuan Zhan, who was walking, to go out. Yuan Zhan turned back. Are you going without having breakfast? Actually, he was the one who was hungry. Yuan Zhan, go to the prey on the road. It means that there is no prey and no food. Dear master, aren't you too useless? It's so pitiful that there is no stock for the family to have breakfast. Yan Mo hid his contempt and smiled. Yuan Duren, I sincerely suggest that you can take some big scorpion leaves from the shed behind the square when you go. If you get injured on the road, you can chew it and put it on the wound to stop bleeding. I know. Duren. Yuan Zhan, impatiently turned back. What else do you want? In addition to those leaves, I can tell you some common herbs. When you are the road, if you see them you can always adopt. If you can pick them up, I can still process them for later use. Yuan Zhan's narrow and fierce eyes showed obvious ridicule. Alternative food? Do you need it? Yan Mo's face was punctured. The shy smile gone back to the mind. Yuan Zhan suddenly turned around and walked over to Yan Mo. He squeezed a boy's face with strength. Well, do you need for the herbs? Yan Mo mouth twitched and he smiled. Yuan Duren, then you listen. Yan Mo said a few of the herbs and insect shapes he needed. The bones are broken, each side of the big leaf, the leaflets are opposite, the leaves are long with cusps, short stems, shaped like fish bones. Sambucus, leaves alternate, sessile, leaves obliquely oblong, flowers open into pieces, mostly star-shaped small white flowers, fruit small as eggs, mostly vermilion. Acaranthes. Yan Mo stopped to explain and looked at a foggy-faced Yuan Zhan and asked, Can you remember Duren? Yuan Zhan did not admit that he did not understand, and his face was blank and his face was expressionless. Trouble. Yan Mo looked at his palm, which did not respond. He know the man opposite got nothing to remember. Yan Mo held back the urge wanting to bash the other side of his head, with his eyes begging, carefully authentic speaking. Duren, I can draw down, can you give me a smooth piece of wood? Give me a few roots or grass roots that are not burned completely in the fire pit. Other slaves can do for themselves a lot of things. Why do he keep slaves and do more work? Yuan Zhan bit his lips and stretched out a severe lip line, pointing to the boy's nose. You better heal that wound before the winter arrives. If you don't heal it, I will cut it that leg. Duren. Yuan Zhan slammed out for a while, and coldly came in and threw him a piece of wood about 1 foot long, about 8 centimeters wide, and about 1 centimeter thick. Duren and the branches in the fire pit. Yuan Zhan went out again, came in, and grabbed a few unburned branches and hard grass roots. Hurry up, the horns will ring, and those who don't arrive in time will be punished. Yes. Yan Mo tried to ignore the ugly face of his master and grabbed the carbonized branches of the front half and quickly painted them on the chips. Wood chips. He doesn't know how Yuan Zhan cut and polished them, but the surface is very smooth, there are not many burrs. Yan Mo recalls several herbs he desperately needs, as well as some common herbs that are painted as much as possible on the wood chips. He did not learn painting when he was a child, nor did he have the talent in this area. After going to college for a summer vacation, he followed a professor who liked to go to Dashan to do a freelance clinic. He found that a student who seems to be very ordinary in the class can draw the desired herbal shape to help the local people and can't help but admire the abnormality. In the following years, when he followed a professor's gongs and drums to make money, he became more and more aware that painting was more direct and useful than words in some places. For this reason, he began to study painting at the age of 26. He practiced every day without interruption. Now, after 13 years of tempering, he knows he can't be a painter. It's easy to draw some of the herbal shapes that have long been printed on his mind. Yuan Zhan took the painted wood chips and saw the various plants on the top. He couldn't help but raise up his eyebrows. He thought that when this little slave said he was going to paint, He will paint several big round circles on the wood chips and added a few stick, Yuan-Jean didn't expect. Is there a bug you need? Yes, those bugs can also be used as medicine, and the effect is very good. The skill of how to paint also taught by your priests. The salt priests are this powerful. Why can't he remember ever gearing a priest who can draw this precisely? Yes. Liar. If the Salt Mountain priests have the skills of this hand painting, he will have long been to the city to serve as a god. Why should he live in a remote tribe for a precarious life? Even if you can't go to the city, the lower city shrine will be rare. Yuan-Jean kept his face and did not let the teenager see his surprise and optics. The boy is probably still young, and the priests may not have time to tell him how powerful this skill is, so he will never tell the boy this. If he let the teenager know that he can worship by having this skill, the slave may fly. This is absolutely not allowed. How can he do it? The slave belongs to him. Poor Yan Mo, who is fighting geese all the time, was also blinded by the geese today. However, it is also because of his inertia thinking. He felt that it is very convenient to master the skills on painting, but he does not know how great it is here, and there are many who don't go out to know the locals. He does not know there are shrines on painters. He do not even know that when someone has special skills like this, and he is very popular with the temple. The most important thing is that he still has a contempt for this young master. He doesn't take him seriously, just wait for the wound to get rid of him. Naturally, he has no thought to study the change in Yuan-Jean's expression. So, it's time for him to give Yuan-Jean a few years of workable slavery. Yuan-Jean grabbed the piece of wood and walked out of the tent. When he went out, he carefully and cherished the wooden piece with the animal skin and hung it around his waist. In the tent, Yan Mo looked at the bright palm and smiled. He painted 4 plants and 2 kinds of insects. The guide gave him a scum value of 6. He can now return to 100 million points by subtracting 1 point. The integer. Unfortunately, the wood was too small, he can't paint anymore. On the first day since Yuan-Jean's departure, Yan Mo didn't go anywhere in the tent. He hurt his leg. It was the best move to not move. Cao Ting brought him a meal and twice carried him to the valley behind the tent to solve the physiological problems. Yan Mo took advantage of this natural toilet and had to praise the wit of the ancients. In the place less than 20 meters away from the tent area, there is a natural crack. The crack is not wide, just about a distance, like the long crater in the old toilet. The men, women, and children in Yuan tribe only need to pay attention to it a little bit, and it's like to be convenient here. If one is too lazy, they would just dig a pit in the tent behind the house, and pull it over with the soil. The small solution is very unconcerned, and many people solve it anywhere. So poor places, no wonder they are always accompanied by a variety of stench. Yan Mo's original body has adapted to this dirty and messy environment, and has become accustomed to various odors. Even Yan Mo is forced to get used to it, even if he is very concerned about the environment and his own health. For a tribe who wants to save water and does not wash it in the morning and evening, if you want to things get well done, you will have more than enough energy. All day, Yan Mo didn't lie there. He turned the pile of rubbish and wanted to see if there was anything useful in it. As a result, he didn't find anything, he only caught a bunch of bugs. The worms are also good things, but some of these worms are as long as he knows, such as the scorpion-shaped polypod, and some of them he doesn't know at all. He wants to find the earth beetle in these insects. The earth beetle is also known as the bandit. It likes the dark and moist humus soil. It usually grows under the old-fashioned earthen house roots and corners. Its crushed powder can treat the inflammation and the cold, bruises, and the imperfect veins, osteopathy and AO continued. The only earth beetles are the ones with medical effects are the females. The males have wings, and the females have no wings. However, it is hard to say whether the males really have no medical effects, because the males are not only less, but once they become worms, they will grow like wings and fly, very flexible, not easy to catch, and will die after mating. Yan Mo looked at the many bugs and sighed. If the second article of the guide can be used now, he can identify whether the bugs are useful to him one by one. If he wants the guide to help him identify the creature, he must subtract his scum value. 100 points, plus a point after 100 million, that is, he has to subtract a total of 101 points. After he didn't find what he was looking for in the tent, Yan Mo was not discouraged. He asked Cao Ting a lot, except for the things he needs to pay attention to in this tribe, as well as the nearby water and soil and biological characteristics. At the same time, he did not forget to teach the Cao Ting the knowledge of medical treatment, and told her to go to the shed to pick up the fresh big loquat leaves which he can use for the wound dressing change. For this reason, he reduced the scum value by 3 points. On the second day since Yuan Zhan's departure, Yan Mo stared at his wound for a long time. Cao Ting changed his medicine and reattached the fixed wooden stick, and suddenly sighed. Yan Mo looked up at her. "Sister, what's the matter?" Cao Ting squatted with a straw rope and shook his head. He may not be able to make it. Wasn't the priest Duren already helping him to heal? Yan Mo thought that this Dahi situation not only increase his value of scum, but also hurt him to take a fire every night. He had no good feelings. It is not exactly bad to curse him to die early. Naturally, he would not want to take the initiative to help him. This is why he has never mentioned Dahi with Cao Ting. Although he knows that if he can help the person, he will definitely have his scum value reduced. Yes, he is angry, what can he do about it? Anyway, he is a scum. Cao Ting sighed again. There are not many herbs. Dahi is wounded like this. If he can't get better anymore, the priests will waste valuable drugs on him. Last time the priests used to just cut off a broken arm, it's sanctioned by law to burn the wound to stop bleeding on hot abdomen, that big hole, in no way. Priests tried to rub the god soil water, not much use. God soil water? Ah, that is the secret passed down from generation to generation by the tribe priests. Everyone calls it the god soil water. Not only can it treat many injuries, but it can also make the turbid water clean. With its enamel fur, the fur will be particularly soft and beautiful. Yan Mo moved in the heart. Is that kind of godland as if it were a transparent crystal? I haven't seen it before. I only heard that the priest used it as a kind of sparkling powder. That effect is very similar to the alum. Is there something nearby? Alum mine? Or is the priest here occasionally getting some? However, using alum powder to stop bleeding, this usage is not correct, but it will directly damage brain cells, burns, vomiting, diarrhea, collapse, and even death. Suddenly thought of it, Yan Mo quickly asked, "Do you use this kind of water in the family?" Cao Ting laughed. "You think wayward there are so many gods for you. There is the shortage of water in summer, when you have to use the drowning in the grassy beach. The priests will use the earth to clean the water. But the water is only available to the chiefs, the priests, and the elders. Even the third-rank warriors can't get too much of it, let alone slaves." Fortunately. Yan Mo gasped. If the godland is really clear, although this thing can clear the water, the aluminum contained in it is very harmful to the human body. For example, long-term use of alum-purified water can cause anemia, osteoporosis, and brain atrophy. Are the priests here become demented when they are old, like they do not remember anything? Yan Mo asked. Cao Ting was surprised. How do you know? I have occasionally heard Duren talk about it, saying that the priests in the tribe will transfer their knowledge and experience to the new priest when they reach a certain age, and the old priest will complete the detachment and his soul will disappear, leaving only a walking dead, nothing to remember, nothing, can't even feed themselves. Is this not the symptoms of Alzheimer's disease caused by brain atrophy? The priests here are also clever and yet unable to explain their own symptoms. They have compiled such an episode that not only does not reduce their prestige, but become even more deified. Little Mo. Cao Ting hesitated. Can I tell others about the big loquat leaf usage to stop bleeding? Of course. I hope you tell others. In addition to stopping bleeding, it can also clear away fever and detoxification, treat swelling and hemorrhoids, etc. Oh, it can also be eaten as wild vegetables. What? Can it still be eaten? Yan Mo nodded. Cao Ting was ecstatic, but sad, but the big cock behind the shed is not enough. You can look for it elsewhere, hillsides, grasslands, wasteland, it's more likely to grow the closer to the road near water. The more they are, the more likely there is a water source nearby, the more unusual it is. If you find one piece, you can find another piece. Great. Little Mo, can I go with the he too to pick up the Circeum plant? Cao Ting explained, he too is the wife of T.A.G. Yan Mo is not surprised by the name of the wife of the person Cao Ting who calls T.A.G. The memory of the teenager tells him that the status of the woman here is not high, only a little better than the slave, and the food distribution of the tribe can be obtained. The children they gave birth to are more precious than the children of the female slaves. If the female slaves have children with their masters, their sons are regarded as descendants of the tribes, and they can obtain tribal food distribution, but once they are short of food, the slaves' food distribution is the least, so they are also the first to dying. If it is a child born to slaves and slaves, it is still a slave. I taught you, as long as I didn't specifically forbids it, you can teach others at will. Cao Ting was elated. Little Mo, you are very good. Yan Mo revealed a smile that said, I am a good person. Then you have a way to make T.A.G. get a little better. Do you want me to help T.A.G.? Yan Mo was not surprised. Cao Ting nodded and shook her head. She said, you don't have any pressure on yourself. Even the priests cannot cure him. He too has already his death. I just want to let T.A.G. last days to not be so painful. Can you do that? I heard that some priests can let the injured patients stay asleep and sleep until they die. I will you sneak away from here and will not let the priests know. Yan Mo didn't want to go, for 3 reasons. First, it is difficult for a clever woman to have no rice. What kind of surgical tools and drugs he needs to treat T.A.G. are not available. It is impossible to cure T.A.G. injury with a few Circeum plants, and the current situation of T.A.G. is likely to have complications due to infection, so it's serious situation. Even if he returns to where he came, he may not be able to save people back. Second, if he goes, he can't cure T.A.G. Maybe the damn Banished guide will give him another note. Third, even if he heals T.A.G., maybe he can reduce some of the scum, but it may also attract the attention of the priest of this tribe. But Yan Mo didn't dare to refuse Cao Ting. He was afraid that he couldn't say anything, and the Banished guide would immediately add him 10 scum in the name of death. The purpose is to make T.A.G. death less painful, then I don't have to save him, right? Yan Mo said in his Chinese with his right hand. The guide did not answer him. Going is also miserable. Not going is also miserable. What a terrible world. Yan Mo sneered in his heart. Cao Ting does not know of Yan Mo his psychological dilemma. Seeing him not speaking, she guessed that he may be afraid of causing trouble, touching his head and saying, if you can do it, I think the clay will give you some meat to pay. Let's go, why not? Isn't it like euthanasia? He hasn't done it yet.